Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions.
Know what's going to happen. We have to go for this. And Coco submitted an application to a pitch competition. And that was kind of just how we did it, and then it ended up providing the opportunity that otherwise we, so many things we got to access because the world went remote, even if Texas and Florida were still kicking it pretty normally by that time.
That's the biggest thing.
And that was a game changer for us.
And that's what allowed us to move too, was that now all of a sudden remote work is not that crazy of a thing. And, that allowed us to relocate. So that combined with us just then getting access to different resources that previously weren't available on, through remote, even the accelerator that we were in and, certain things like that. That was a really big advantage for us. Yeah. So not all bad things during the pandemic.
But certainly a major shift.
So I have a quick question for you. Who was the most influential person to you growing up?
Oh, we have some giants, honestly.
Yes, you did.
That's a great question. I feel like that's
your son sounds like a powerhouse. I think we should have him on the podcast.
Absolutely. Oh, any of our kids, they're firecrackers.
Yes.
I don't want to go back to school. What's that?
And then,
And then it didn't.
And then it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Right. Mr. Prophetic, right?
Yeah.
He's very into Star Wars. So I think that was the force at work,
That's it.
Yeah. I think we'd have to say our parents, and our parents are so different personality wise. And, it's we're this blend of our mom's fiery side, and our dad is your engineer personality, but with tremendous EQ. And so I would say both of our parents have EQ. And, I think that would just have to be my answer. Our parents.
I'd say that along with just a kind of strong lineage in terms of just kind of achievement, and also, just their ability to persevere and things like that. And so really a lot of our family members have been inspirations to us, that, anyone can do anything, well,
to kind of harken back to our Asian roots, our ancestors, we have a lot of respect for and intentional acknowledgement for them. And they've kind of been in their own ways, all fighting for people and advocating for people, and especially rural people, for several generations.
That's cool. That's really cool. Okay. Now let's talk about the Endora app.
Let's do it.
How does this come about? I mean, I know you guys have been talking about doing something for years and all that kind of thing, but you have to admit this is pretty unique.
Oh, we'd love to admit that. That's no problem.
But it is. I mean, you guys aren't like anybody else, right? And your app isn't like anybody else's app. Talk about how the process happens that leads you to this.
Okay, so there's a long backstory, and I feel like for anyone we're going to want to hear our long backstory, it might be you.
That's all we do is long backstories. We're good.
Yeah. So where it really started, and the first time we submitted a deck to a pitch competition was with a much different product, a totally different goal. But it was always surrounding what we do with our memories and we've always known that memories held like a special power, and that at this time, we thought that they could be used as somewhat of like an emotional insurance, like you could leave a legacy to your children and your descendants, and it could be something that, your kids can still feel like they are connected to you even after you're gone. And your grandkids, and they can really know you. We can really, we were capturing all of this. This is something we could do with it that could really, be useful to people. And that was kind of rooted in, there had been some loss in our family. Our mom lost her dad at a very early age, and we just always saw the way that that impacted her and her siblings and her mom and everybody. And she doesn't have that many memories of him, actually, because I think any footage they have from their childhood, he was the one recording it. So it was kind of a whole big hole in kind of, this family we could, have always kind of been aware of. And then we lost an aunt, so my dad's sister, from breast cancer at too early of an age. And that really affected us because at the time I had a baby. And so I was just thinking that loss for me, even it was just an aunt that I was really close with. It felt like almost like a mother figure that now, okay, I can't go to her now for advice with raising my own kid. And it's someone whose advice I would have really valued.
Yeah.
So that's where we started, was actually sort of a grief focus and thinking that this could be really powerful, could really help a lot of people. And as we've pivoted, so we kind of took that to market, would get feedback from people. We would go back to the drawing board, rearrange kind of what we thought people really wanted, because some of the death was too dark. And, someone said to us early on, this is a great idea, but if you could just focus on kind of the light and the positive and be all about the living. And so we kind of took that advice and really ran with it. And since then has just been evolving. And now what we've realized, and I think it was hard to bust out of some of the established frameworks for what we do with our memories, which is, scrapbooking apps and that sort of thing. There are definitely a lot of those out there. There are some that are innovating on this legacy idea. But what we found was with a lot of those apps, you have good intentions, but it's a lot of work. And we wanted to create something where and also the person who really benefits from it is maybe like a descendant. It's not you. You might in the process of creating it, but at the time it just feels like work. So we wanted to remove the work and make it all about play. And so at that time too, we just discovered the power of our memories and the science of nostalgic reflection, and how really, if you can access that, there's actually a lot of benefits that are proven. And so we thought, how can we get people reflecting really easily and in a way that's fun, that they actually want to do every day? And so we, came up with the idea. I don't know how exactly. Someone said to us, make it like Candy Crush with memories. And someone else, we also were playing Roblox with our kids, thinking like something like this with your memories could be cool. But we've landed in these 2D casual mobile games that incorporate your memories in different ways. And really, this is just the beginning. As we are getting feedback from people on these early experiences, the possibilities are kind of endless of where we can take it. But just focusing on playing with your memories and making that as fun and easy as possible. And then watching the ripple effects that occur from the reflection, the actual science of looking at your memories.
You mind if I share something with you?
Yes,
Please.
God works in mysterious ways. Last Sunday, Mother's Day, I sat at my father-in-law's house and I worked on his computer, which is kind of a thing for him. He comes up with something that's going on with his computer, and he has me, one of the most tech unsavvy people you've ever met in your life, he has me sit down and see if I can fix it. Okay. And usually I can. Usually it's not, anything that dramatic or that kind of thing, right? Or technical, thank God, right? Nothing like that. And I sat down and I fixed whatever it was that he had. And actually there was a thing that he had that I couldn't fix, and I explained to him why and that kind of thing. And he goes, hey, click on that icon. There's this icon that's on his desktop. Click on that icon. Tell me what you think. So I click on the icon, and it's photos, probably 300 photos of my children when they were incredibly small, including my favorite photo of all, Madison, our youngest, the girl that turned me into mush, right?
Yeah.
She's all of maybe a week old. And
Mhm.
Michael was sitting in the backyard looking as cute as he possibly could. I mean, these kids were they're just adorable, but they were especially adorable when they were that age, right? And he's sitting in his Papa Orlando's backyard, which is literally right across the wall from where I'm sitting at this computer. And we took Madison and we put her on his lap. And he had no idea what he was doing. None. She wouldn't open her eyes for the first 60 days she was here because it was entirely too bright here. And she had an attitude, okay, which she still has today at the ripe old age of 23,
Hilarious.
just so we're clear, right? But she
Yes.
had attitude. She was just refused. So she's laying there with her eyes closed like this. And Michael reaches up and pats her on the head and says, baby. Right? Cutest thing you ever saw in your life.
Yes.
That photo's in there.
Oh,
That happens on Sunday, and here we are today on a Wednesday,
no kidding.
3 days later, right?
Yeah.
As I'm going through those photos, I'm looking at my children, and I'm literally getting more positive. I'm literally feeling
Yes.
feelings
Yes.
that I know are helping my mental health. I know for a fact they are, right?
Yes.
That's exactly what Endora is all about. I mean, you guys
100%.
mentioned on your website that you have 50,000 plus images
Oh, yes.
that you've saved, right, over the years.
Yes.
And I don't know how many we have. I don't honestly know. But it was you mentioned the grandfather that had those images that he had taken, and then he goes away and it sort of becomes this void, right?
Right.
That got me thinking about what happened on Sunday, because those are all photos and videos and things that my father-in-law took over the years, right? The proud papa thing, right?
Well,
Yeah.
and not to go totally off the rails, but if we still think about our big picture version, like what is the best, kind of encapsulation of a person's life would probably be life through their lenses.
Yeah.
And like their photos, their memories. That's how you're going to know what they spent time on, what and who
What was
was important to them, and
Yeah.
who they loved and what they cared about. And so I think we want to eventually build out to where people can have a home for like those memories that they feel like truly define them here. And then maybe one day that is a place someone can visit, and it's more robust than any like obituary could ever be. But that's like way out there, way down the line. But I feel like you get it 100%.
Well,
Well,
it's where you guys are headed.
Right.
You with me? And this is like the foundation of, for lack of a better term, building somebody's house of memories.
We
Right.
are calling it a palace, but that
Yeah.
will work.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yes, I mean, like literally, exactly.
So,
Yeah,
and
I just
kind
love
of the
this. I think this is really
experience
cool.
that you described, as you're seeing the photos and the feelings that are just kind of like filling you up, that's exactly what we're trying to tell people. Like this is what this will do for you. It's very hard to like put a word to it, but the word really is like, that's nostalgia, that's the feeling, and like nostalgia is actually an emotion. And so really tapping into that emotion, and the beauty of the pictures is that it can get you there in the flash of the photo, and it doesn't require any work on the person looking at it to, there are a lot of meditations where it's like, think back to a time you were happy, but in this scenario, you don't really have to think. It's
like an instantaneous experience.
Well, I think it also has an effect that, and I know you guys know this, but I kind of wanted to point this out to people. When you look back on your past, when you look back on your childhood, for instance, right? Or in this case, we were looking back at my children's childhood, right? When you look back at those things, we as people have sort of a preconceived idea that we've developed over the years of what our childhood was like. And then for me, I listen to a classic rock song that takes me back to Ponca City, Oklahoma, where I grew up.
Awesome.
Right? Because my mother played popular rock all the time, right? and born in 66, so the late 60s, early 70s, right? That kind of rock takes me back.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. And it takes me back to a time when, like you said, we're playing until dark, we're outside, and if you look back on your childhood, I believe we as human beings have a different take on things before we get to that nostalgia part where something pops up like a photograph or something pops up like a classic rock song that makes us think differently. You with me? Like there's
100%.
a perspective here, and I think it's important that people understand this perspective is you might have this idea of this is what my childhood was like and this is how you describe it, but how it actually feels and how it actually was could actually be changed by this experience.
100%. And I think there's a lot of science behind that too, but it's a really
Absolutely.
interesting question. When and how some memory for you becomes like makes the transition and becomes nostalgic.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. And it really feels like fairy godmother or like supernatural. It's some beautiful thing that, are we the only species to experience this? Is it a differentiator for us?
I think it's some like hack to perspective
Yeah.
where, you think about something again, you kind of do a double take. Wait, was that exactly how I thought it was? Okay, maybe yes, maybe no, but it gets you to rethink about it. And
which is a hack to evolution. So like hack to perspective, hack to evolution.
Yeah.
You know?
And I, one other thing, just from my perspective, my grandfather and I are like the same person. My mother's father,
It's awesome.
we're like the same person. Okay. We lost him in 2007. But if you look at photos of him, I'm 57 years old. If you look at photos of him when he was 57, we almost look like twins.
Wow.
that's funny.
That's
I mean,
very cool too.
it is uncanny. It is
Interesting.
uncanny how unbelievably familiar we are. You know what I mean? And we
Yes.
I mean, I acted a lot like he did.
Similar
Mhm.
essences.
I don't have quite the temper he had, but you know what I mean? So,
Right.
but
Totally.
but this whole thing just fascinates me. And I know for a fact from experience that an app like yours does in fact improve mental health. It does help people with their mental health. And I know that it changes people's memories. I know for a fact it does. I promise you it does. So I'm super, super excited about what you're doing. And this app is just brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. And I love the fact that you guys have been all over the world and yet you ended up back in Longview,
Yep.
right?
And
And
we really love it here.
and your children have cousins,
Yep.
right? I grew up with my cousins. We didn't always get along, honestly.
Well,
sure,
we can
absolutely.
relate. Yes.
But we're still, a lot of us are still, well, the normal ones are still good friends of mine. I'm joking. But I have to tell you something. My oldest cousin, David, picked on me relentlessly when I was growing up. My older cousins, I was the youngest of almost all the cousins, right? Next to youngest. And I got
Creating a profile.
Yes.
I got picked on like you
Okay.
can't believe, right?
Youngest
And my
of
grandfather
cousins.
used to say, when you grow up and you're bigger than them, you need to give it back to them both barrels. At my grandfather's funeral, they got all the grandsons together for a picture because they figured they'd never see us again together, right? So we all get together. David comes up to me and he goes, my oldest cousin. He goes, Mike, everybody's talking about you from the photo. And I'm like, right? I'm always the one everybody focused on. I don't know. I don't know. Right? Jealousy, whatever. Right? So I said, really, what are they focused on? He goes, everybody's talking about the fact that you're the only grandson with hair color. We have a gene in our family where we all prematurely gray. So even my younger cousin, his hair was all white, like he was all right. I was the only one with hair color. And I said, David, I'll tell you the secret if you promise not to tell anybody. What do you do? I said, in California. Now, everybody in Oklahoma, we're in Blackwell, Oklahoma at my grandfather's funeral. Everybody in Oklahoma and Kansas and Texas thinks all those Californians are nuts. Okay. They're just nutty as a fruitcake.
Yes,
okay.
we are familiar with that sentiment.
Right. So I said to him, I said, I have a hairstylist I've been using for 20 years in California. That's an absolute magician at Grecian formula. Okay. 15 minutes later, my mother walks up to me and says, you should be ashamed of yourself. What are you talking about? David is running around the funeral parlor telling everybody about your hair color and this Grecian formula. You don't use Grecian formula, you little liar, right?
Yes.
I get back to California. I tell my hairstylist the joke because I'm thinking she's going to crack up, and she goes, I am, you know. And I said, what's that? And she said, a magician at Grecian formula. Whenever you're ready, I'm here.
Right. Oh, that's hilarious.
Hello. Right. So, but at Granddad's funeral, I got back at my cousin. So
that's hilarious.
That's great. And he was cracking up upstairs. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
And
I am so excited for you guys, and I'm so excited for what you've created. You are going to change the world. You're changing it right now, but you're going to change the world with this app. I promise you. This is a big deal, you guys.
Thank you.
Well, yes, we appreciate your kind words. Thank you.
I'm super proud of you. I don't know how to find the words to explain to you how cool this is. But I'm a huge fan. I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to meet each other. Thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience.
It was absolutely our pleasure. You are so kind, obviously. And thank you for letting us, ramble on. But
yes.
It's very cool to connect with people who are, trying to change the world and know it's through love and kindness and those kinds of things.
And we're always down for a trip down memory lane. So.
Absolutely. I love it. The Endora app, baby. Endora, wherever you get your apps. Endora app, wherever you get your apps, Android or Apple.
Well, technically Android's not
Android.
Not Android yet?
Android. I
really?
know. We get a lot of complaints about that.
Am I ahead of the thing? I thought I saw Android.
Coming soon.
Coming soon.
Yeah, we need to change that.
Maybe by the time the things.
Maybe
ahead of the game. I'm sorry. So right now, just Apple
right now.
Yeah.
So cool. You guys are amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.